Hey everybody, I'm Samantha Harms with the Fort Cavazos Garrison Public Affairs Office, and today we are talking all things Army emergency relief, what that means, what it looks like for our soldiers, and so much more on this week's episode of The Great Big Podcast.
Hi everybody, I'm Eric Rodriguez with your Fort Cavazos Garrison Public Affairs team, and we're here on today's Great Big Podcast with Sergeant Major of the Army, retired, Tony Grinston, and we're here to talk about AER today. Sergeant Major, it's great to see you again after the last year. For some folks who are new to the Army, may not be too familiar with the organization, what they do, could you talk a little bit about who Army Emergency Relief is and what exactly you guys do for our soldiers?
Yeah, I'd love to, and thanks for having me, and great to see you again. And I usually start off with I love my job. Even after 1 year, I still love it. And we provide financial assistance to soldiers, active duty, Guard, and Reserve. If a Guard and Reserve soldier has been on active duty on Title 10 status over 30 days, I know that's a mouthful, and their families and surviving spouses, anything with financial assistance. And one of those categories is like basic needs. If you need help with housing, you need help with food, and we'll provide some financial assistance to help those soldiers be more ready soldiers so that they don't have to worry about the financial needs and they can focus on their wartime mission.
That's awesome. Giving the soldiers a little bit of support so they can focus on their day-to-day. That's absolutely important. So the last time you were here, Sergeant Major, you were talking about some of the great stuff that you guys were doing with some of the funding that was coming in with AER. Over the last year, what are some of the improvements you might have seen within the organization or the system? And how do you see the changes that may or may not have happened to continue to benefit soldiers?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about one thing that I'm just super excited about, that we did in the last year is we made emergency travel a full grant. So before, if you qualified for emergency travel, it'd be 50% loan, 50% grant. And I said, why would we do that? And I would always tell my own personal case. When my mother passed away, I flew home, and the good news is I got there before she passed away. She passes away. And then I flew back, got my whole family, and then we flew back to Alabama. And then on the way back, we got stuck in Atlanta because there was bad weather, and I found out the airlines don't pay for that, hotel. So I had another bill for a hotel. Now, I can pay for all that. And what really hit me is imagine that a young soldier or a sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class is going through all this grief, and they're worried about paying for those plane tickets. And I thought it would be appropriate that we would do that as 100% grant. So in January, we made that 100% grant. So that's one of the things that we've done in the last year. There's probably a lot more, but that's the number one. The number one thing that I want to really achieve for this year is doing a complete online application. And what's frustrating about this is that you would go in and you go into your AER officer and you think you have all the paperwork, but you don't, and then you got to go back and get your lease. And then you come back and you do more paperwork, and you're more frustrated, and you go back. And it goes back and forth. So in this day and age, we should have an online application. You fill it in, you put your name, and here's what the assistance you need, and it will tailor to the form to you. And it would say, please upload these documents. So you would actually upload the documents like with all the other loans in the planet. So we're looking to get a complete online application. You'd log in and see where your application is, who's got it, they approved it, then they send it back. And then you can see, do your DocuSign, you sign it. So we're really hopeful that we'll get this done. It'll do away with some of the back and forth and the paperwork, and I think it'll make the AER experience much better. You're already going through a difficult time. It's really hard to ask for help. Don't make it painful by going back and forth. So I'm super excited about the online application.
That sounds really, really awesome. Seems like it's going to streamline a lot of things. I know sitting down and going through all that paperwork can be a little daunting sometimes, but that's a really awesome idea. Have you already started working on that and started getting those pieces moving?
Yeah, full disclosure, we've had a little delays. So, somebody got yelled at. So we really wanted this done in December. The funny story was I was asking somebody, hey, when can you get this done? You know, like last year, it's like, oh, yeah, we'll get this done in June. And the person sitting next to him was like, please don't say that. So we said December, and then December became February. But right now, we're on track to get this out in the next couple of weeks.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
Again, that's a really awesome idea, and it's cool to hear that you guys are looking into the future and trying to make things a lot easier for these guys. So outside of being able to streamline the process further, can you kind of walk us through how AER works and like what steps that a soldier would have to go through in order to get some assistance for themselves or their families?
Yeah, there are so many ways to get assistance for AER. Sometimes we've got so many ways. People are like, where do I go? So I try to make it as easy as possible. First, you could go to your chain of command. So a commander or first sergeant can approve a loan up to $2,000, and they can help you walk you through some of that paperwork. Some people don't want to go to the chain of command. And I get this a lot, like, oh, you're the former Sergeant Major of the Army. You want them to go to the chain of command. I do, but I'm going to help people, whether they go to the chain of command or not. That's not my job anymore. So you can go to your chain of command and ask for help. You can go inside the ACS director. That's normally where they're located. You have an Army Emergency Relief Officer. We call them AEROs. You can walk into that office and say, I need help, and you can get your assistance there. Another place you can get assistance, which most people don't know, if you're not next to a base, is Red Cross. So we have an agreement with the Red Cross and it all comes out in emergency travel. Like you get a Red Cross message, and Red Cross helps me. And so I even had somebody go, oh, Red Cross gave me the money. They might have. Then they charge me. So Red Cross gives you money, but then they get their money from us. So we have cases that we look at every morning at the headquarters that are Red Cross cases worldwide, and our team will actually type that and put it into our system, and then that way we reimburse Red Cross. Here's another one. If you're on a joint base, we actually have an agreement with every aid society. So the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, or the Air Force Aid Society, you can actually, as a soldier, go to any of those locations that has a relief society and get assistance because we have a similar agreement, Red Cross and all the relief societies. And if that wasn't enough, you can call the headquarters. So if you don't like any of those, and so we don't have a lot. We have 7 assistance folks right there in the headquarters that will actually help you out in need. And normally they get a lot of calls from me. So when I'm out traveling and somebody will say, well, I can't do this, or I need some help with this paperwork, give him my card, and then Charles runs the assistance, and he gets notes from me, and he loves it, by the way. So there's all these ways that soldiers can get help. If you don't know where to go, and you're in the chain of command, and your soldiers are struggling, here's what I'll tell you. Just send me a note. michael.grinston@aerheadquarters.com. I know everybody's like, oh my God, is that your email? It actually is. So I just want to help people, and I want to help soldiers, and I don't want it to be really hard. I want them to get help.
That's fantastic, Sergeant Major. So we know where to go. Can you walk me through the process of what it would be like to ask for assistance? Say, maybe, for example, I have a death in the family, and I am here at Fort Cavazos. I'm stuck paying all my bills, and my pocketbook's kind of short. Can you walk me through the process?
Yeah. So I'll give you what we do now, and then I'll give you the hopefully brand new tailored form for you. So right now there's a Form 100, and when they showed it to me, it like had all assistance on it, and I'm like, well, I only want one. So it's a little confusing. So I normally tell people, go into your AER office. They'll walk you through the forms and they'll help you out. And that's probably the fastest way to kind of do it, because if you pull those off, you can apply for assistance. I think we shut that button off while we're working through the online application, but it can be a little confusing because when I personally looked at it, it had all assistance on one form. The new program, if you say emergency travel, it will only give you what's required for emergency travel. Full stop. So that's why we're trying to get this online application, because in the past, it's like, here's all the forms. Like, I don't need all that. So you really did actually need somebody to walk you through some of the paperwork. So they'll walk you through the paperwork. If you have all the things, like some things require a lease, some things may require a bill or something else. Some require a budget, some don't. So it depends on what category of assistance you're going through. They'll walk you through. If you've got all that paperwork done, you'll get a document, say, how would you like to be reimbursed? So right now we have Zelle, we have ACH, we do have checks. So we don't want to use them. We don't actually like to use those anymore, and we try to pull all those back. So we prefer to do electronic transfer. So if you get your documents, you'll sign electronically in DocuSign. And once we validate that you've got the account, that money will go into the account normally as soon as you sign the DocuSign. So if you don't have a good Zelle account, or if you don't have a good ACH, now we try to test that. No, we don't try. We test that before we disperse funds. So it goes pretty quickly if you have all the paperwork. And I empathize that the paperwork sometimes you don't know, and that's that back and forth. That's why we're trying to streamline it. But right now, if you go to the website and you call, and my best advice is, if you are struggling, you need help, call your AERO office and say, what requirements are they asking for my case? And that will help you probably get rid of some of that angst.
And on average, Sergeant Major, when someone starts the process to get assistance, how long does it take from beginning to end? And then, I mean, we don't have to talk about you getting it back, but just from starting the request for assistance up to receiving it.
Well, my goal is 48 hours from literally I walk in the office to pay. Is that the case? No, I know, because every once in a while I'll get a list of people that get stuff from AER, and I called this one soldier maybe a week and a half ago, and he's like, it took 7 days. And Charles, that guy that gets the wonderful notes from me, he got another one, like, find out why it took so long. That's in my opinion, 7 days is unacceptable. We'll find out, he didn't have a Zelle account. He had to restart it. I mean, like we said, we're trying to pay through that. A little bit on the soldier, a little bit on us. Right. So my goal is 24 or 48 hours, depending on the case. If emergency travel, we want that to do in 24 hours. But ultimately, 48 hours is a good sweet spot. But like I just told you, there was a case that took 7 days.
So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit when we first started talking, Sergeant Major. Who all is eligible for assistance through AER, and are there any specific circumstances or events that AER focuses on as opposed to does not help? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we help active, Guard, and Reserve, and they're all eligible. And then, like I said, if you're on Title 10 orders longer than 30 days, one of the other things other than the online application, and I'm still saying that's the number one priority for AER right now, is I'm also hopeful by the end of the year that Army Reserve will be all eligible, all full-time, regardless of the status. They're already Title 10. So my goal is to actually add them in full-time, wouldn't matter on orders or not, at the end of the year. And for some people say, well, why not National Guard? Well, that National Guard's Title 32, and it can be a little bit more complicated on where they're working, state or something else. What created those hardships? That's number one. Number two, National Guard also, what he found is about 30 states actually have a state National Guard Relief Society. So my goal is, like, if they don't help you, you can always ask us, but that would be by an exception. So if there's a case that you feel strongly about that we should help, the exceptions to policy come to me. But we also help spouses. We do a lot in scholarships. We help spouses with scholarships. We also help the family members with scholarships. So we don't do active duty soldiers for scholarships. Okay. Tuition assistance, GI Bill. There's a lot of scholarships for soldiers. So for spouses and their families. And we help retirees. And we get a lot of donations from retirees, but we also get some assistance requests from retirees and surviving spouses. So if your soldier died on active duty or died as a retiree, you will always be eligible for AER assistance.
So no matter what, the Army team's still behind you. That's comforting to know. I was unaware of the state systems. That's a good bit of knowledge. So, Sergeant Major, something that recently happened. We've had a rather large fire that happened a few days ago here in proximity to the post. A lot of soldiers were affected. Can you talk about what AER is prepared to do for those soldiers and family members who were affected by the fire?
Yeah. When we heard about that, I know they called me and said, oh, there was a fire. And then, imagine that you just had a fire and all your household goods were burnt. And I was like, that would be horrible. Part of it would be horrible. And then I was like, well, maybe I need a new couch. I don't know. So, but, really those things you can't replace are, those pictures and those things you get overseas that you can't just fly back and get that one thing of. And it would be horrible. So we have decided if that soldier needs assistance, that we'll do a $1,000 grant to help them out to replenish some of those things. You may be sitting somewhere around the world. So I found out today some of it was just some inbound and some outbound. So I would actually ask those, if you're listening, please double check, is that yours? And if you know someone that might have left, that might have their household goods in storage, to reach out to Fort Cavazos to make sure that's not you affected. But if you are affected and you need some assistance, we're going to do a $1,000 grant to help them replenish some of those items immediately. You might need a couch, you may need a bed or somewhere to sleep. It's never going to replace the memories that you lost in that fire, and I wish I could help with that, but I can't. But that's what we're prepared to do.
That sounds awesome, especially, that happening the other day was just out of nowhere, and I'm sure a lot of soldiers are going to be really appreciative of that assistance, and a lot of dependents and family members too. Yeah. So for soldiers looking to give back, Sergeant Major, how can they get involved with the campaign? What are ways they can either volunteer to help, or where can they make donations to support their fellow soldiers?
Wow, there's a long answer in there somewhere. The best way, there's all kinds of ways to donate. Clearly, if you've gone to the shopette, you'll see the AER $1, and a lot of people ask me, why don't we do a roundup? And I say, because we're all impatient. So if I give you 2 screens, you're going to get mad and click off and say, I'm not giving you anything. So we're trying to streamline. That's why it only says, should say AER $1 or Air Force $1. That way you can click on that and go quickly. So you can do it there. What I actually would prefer is that you go see your campaign coordinator. So during the campaign, which is right now 1 March to 14 June, our birthday, 250.
Big
so
one.
it's a big one. So you can donate with a 4908. You go in, you fill that out, you do an allotment, a small allotment, and you'll give that way. And our active duty campaign, our goal for this year, 250th, 25% active duty donates. So that's our goal for this year. So you can do it through a 4908, a good old school piece of paper. And then you give it to your campaign coordinator or the AERO at your ACS. They'll put that in the system, and they'll start the allotment. Or you can go online, armyemergencyrelief.org, all one word. In the middle of the screen, there's a big button that says donate. So it's really easy. I tested it the other day, and so I said, is it really that easy? Yep, it's only a couple clicks. It's not 17. You can go in there. You can put in your credit card. You can do ACH. You can do allotments to the website. So it's all available on the website. You can do it in person on a 4908. What we really don't want is cash, but there's a way to do cash. If you take that to the ARO, they'd have to log it in a registry on a 4908 to do that. So the easiest way, if you want to do it, is go to the website and click that button to donate. It usually takes maybe a minute.
Okay. And is there a way soldiers can volunteer with your guys' teams to figure out how to help too? Or
I think the best way to volunteer would be to volunteer at some kind of fundraising event. And I briefed this a little while ago. If you want to volunteer, I know it's going to sound interesting, is that because we help soldiers and their family, the way I tell people, if you want to volunteer in your base. Just help soldiers and their families. And bottom line, I think you're helping AER when you do that. But if you want to say, I want to do something for AER, you can always volunteer if that installation is doing a bowling tournament or a golf tournament. They always need volunteers to help run those events. And that's one way you can directly volunteer for AER.
Okay. So you were here last year talking about the very same thing with the AER campaign. How did last year's campaign end up turning out? Would you consider it a success? Were you guys able to receive the donations and the assistance you were looking for? And was it able to get out to the soldiers in the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, so we saw our active duty campaign actually take a turn for the better, which is always good. So I think it was a success. Our goal was 10%. We actually had 15.1. So, and we also included AAFES. So everyone's like, I gave it to AAFES. So what we did was every $24 was one soldier for your post. So I can't get your ID. I don't know if that was you or not. And so I figured $1 a month would be good. And they're like, well, that's only $12, Tony. I said, well, that other $12 was me every time I go as a retiree hitting the button. So we're just trying to do some, funny math to say that one soldier, then one retiree is going to the shop at hitting the button. And we just counted $24 gives you one person. 15.1%. The year before was 6%. Active duty campaign, and the year before that I think it was 5. So we really turned it around, and I attribute it to the message. And sometimes when you talk to people, you tell people give to AER, and I actually don't like walking in the room and saying, hey everybody, I'm Tony Grinston, please donate to AER. I actually prefer to just tell people what we do. And at the end, it's maybe as crazy as this sounds, and I'll tell you the story. My first case I worked as the CEO of AER. I think they did it deliberately. So I go back, I log into the ARM system, and it takes me forever because I don't do it every day. But I like working back there once a month, and I'm typing it in, and it looks up, and it's a soldier, it's a staff sergeant. And the staff sergeant is going through, it says that he has stage 4 cancer. And he's in the hospital in Houston. And his wife needs money for the rental car and the hotel. And I was a little frustrated because I know the Army has a program that helps with that. And in there was the phone number. And I said, well, I would call her. And she goes, yeah, I'm racking up all these bills, but I just want to be there for my husband. And we gave her a $4,000 grant. And I said, if you don't want to help a soldier like that, then don't give to AER. But if you do, give to AER, because that's what we do. So I've got hundreds of stories of those. You don't have enough time. But if you walk in a room and say, give to AER, people don't understand what that means. It's like you are literally helping alleviate the stress of that spouse who just wants to be there for her husband. And I think that's the message that I preach, and I found that people want to give to help other soldiers. And I'm not gonna lie, it's like, but that one person abused it. He gave this person a loan, they really didn't need it. Okay. For the other 34,999 cases, because we do about 35,000 cases. That's the cases I see. And that's who we help, and that's what we do. And that's why I believe in the campaign, and I think that's when we start telling that message to people, I think that's where we've seen our donations go up.
So like you said, it's going on right now, March 1st through when, Sergeant Major?
14 June, happy birthday, Army.
So I had just a question. What got you to want to stick with helping troops? I know as the senior NCO of the Army, that's kind of like your thing. What made you want to do it after retirement?
Every once in a while I go like, why did I do that? No, that's not true, actually. I already told you I love my job. I really do. I found a purpose. And I'm not going to lie, I was like, man, that sounds like a cool job. I mean, I'll be honest. I was like, it sounds good. I was on the board for 7 years. And I thought, man, we got this great purpose. I didn't know the full extent. After 1 year, I'm like, why would I want to do anything else? It's like I found a calling. Sometimes I feel like I'm not very good at it. I'm trying to work to get better every day at my job. The bottom line, those stories, that one I told you about the staff sergeant, I got 100 cases in my head, and we do 30,000 or over that. And I think of what a better way to help soldiers and their families. And oh, by the way, I don't have to testify. I don't get criticized as much. I still take a lot of photos every once in a while. So there's a whole bunch of benefits to not being in the Sergeant Major Army. But bottom line is I'm still trying to do everything I can to help soldiers and their families. And I couldn't think of a better job to have.
Sergeant Major, those are all the questions I've got for you. If there's one last thing you could say about AER and the campaign for everybody listening, what would that be? I
would say you're not alone. You don't have to struggle on your own. And I've said this even with behavioral health. People don't like to ask for help, but it's okay to ask for help. You should not be afraid to go to behavioral health, and you should not be afraid to ask for help from AER. And if somebody tells you no with AER, keep asking. We want to find a way to say yes. And if you need an exception, please run that through your chain of command or just send it to us, because we're going to do everything we can to help soldiers and their families.
Sergeant Major, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for carving that out to be able to talk about AER and what you guys are doing here today. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I just want to say thank you, and thanks to the entire Fort Cavazos team for hosting me. Thank you.
Thanks again for listening. We'll be right back with more after this on the Great Big Podcast.
Have you ever wondered about the differences between CDSE's education and training programs? Both programs offer students a unique experience. Our education courses expand students' knowledge of security concepts to enhance career growth,
while our training courses focus on the skills needed for students to complete their current or future duties.
Our education courses are 16 weeks long and are virtual instructor-led.
Training courses range from 30 minutes to over 4 weeks and can be self-paced e-learning, in-person instructor-led, or virtual instructor-led.
Education courses are limited to U.S. government and military personnel.
Our training courses are available to military, civilian, cleared contractors, and anyone needing overall security awareness.
With education courses, as well as some training, students can earn ACE credit recommendations towards a degree at participating institutions.
To learn more about our education and training programs, or to register, visit cdse.edu.
And welcome back to the Great Big Podcast. I'm hanging out with Sam.
Heck yeah.
I think the coolest thing that AER is doing right now, outside of helping people,
well, that's their whole purpose.
that is always awesome. The streamlining the application process online with the app.
Yeah, I think that is a genius idea. I love when we always move towards the 21st century. We enjoy that.
Only 10 years behind in technology.
Casual, no big deal. Just like a little behind. But that's good. That's okay. We're making progress, and I'm excited for them to do that, and excited to see how beneficial it is to our service members and their families.
Absolutely, because I know, at least for me, I needed everything like step by step by number. So being able to like click a little button and it gives me exactly what I need, that's a game changer, I think, for sure.
I agree with that.
The other thing that Sergeant Major mentioned, just already having things set aside for everybody affected by the fires over the last few days.
Absolutely.
That, to me, is already thinking ahead. Didn't even have to ask about it, really. I know when he was coming into the building, he was already talking about what the plan was for that. So I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that I saw when they made the announcement, that it was going to be the grants and all of that. And I think stepping up and helping, not only they do that already every day as it is, but to recognize that we had a specific incident that happened here and a specific group of people who this could affect. I think it's really beautiful when we're able to do that. And I know I'm appreciative, not that it affected me at all, but just seeing everybody kind of rally together. It's a really heartwarming moment.
No, I agree with you. Like sometimes I know from being a soldier myself, you don't always think that the organization really cares about you.
Yeah.
Because you're just another cog in the machine. But it's true. But then you figure out later something happens and there's people that, hey, you can go here. We can help you out doing this, doing that. When it counts, the team is there. And I appreciated that throughout my career, and I appreciate that it still happens.
Yeah, me too.
Outside of that, what do you got going on coming up this week?
Yeah, so last week, this like time of the year is spring break fest season for all of Central Texas. And I know that we at the installation have so many events happening this coming week. Just like thinking about all the things that we have going on, I am very overwhelmed.
You're not the only one. We're all scrambling.
Yeah, it just feels like there's so much happening right now. We've got a housing demolition that we're doing that we'll be live streaming on our Facebook page if anybody wants to watch at Fort Cavazos Army. So selfless plug. I know. We've got the Medal of Honor Valor Tour is coming here. So I believe 3rd Armored Corps is going to be live streaming that event. So if you follow them on Facebook, lots of plugs this week.
We hope you do.
There's just like a lot of really cool events and a lot of things that I'm really looking forward to that we'll be covering down for on this week. So yeah, what about you?
And the weekend, though. So we know we're going to be working.
We are, yes.
But I want to know about the cool stuff. There's cool stuff happening during the week.
Lots of
but
cool
the cool stuff that's
Follow us on
happening
Facebook.
outside of the Army realm.
Outside of the Army realm. Well, you know, lately I've been kind of in like a slump. I really haven't been doing anything except enjoying the beautiful weather that we have been having recently. The fact that it is sunny and 80 degrees warms my heart like none other. I feel like a human being again, which has been so nice. But yeah, I haven't been doing anything. I've been doing some puzzling and like, that's about it.
Just hanging out?
Just hanging out, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's been nice. It's been really nice. But I know that what you're about to say of what you've been up to and what you're going to keep doing, it's going to make me really jealous. So just go ahead and share with the listeners.
This can either end up being really entertaining or it could be like an international incident.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to be spending the entire weekend wearing a kilt.
Okay.
Running around drinking mead.
Yep.
Singing shanties.
Yep.
Having a ridiculous time with all my friends. Maybe I'll even let my kids come along.
Cute.
But I'm going to Sherwood, and that's happening. It's all the fairs, the Renaissance festivals, and all the cool stuff that's starting to kick back up. And we're going to warm up this week with Sherwood, and then I'll be out at Todd Mission when everything fun is happening there.
Nice.
Coming up here. So
wow. So I went to my first Renaissance festival last year.
Okay.
My first one ever.
Which one did you go to?
Did
you go to the Big Texas Ren Fest in
yes.
Todd Mission?
Yes,
okay.
yes, I
Good
did.
Choice.
Yes,
Good choice.
It was so much fun. I had a great time. So I went with some friends, and I just wore like a normal dress or whatever, like a wench outfit.
Right.
But all my friends dressed up as monks, and they all had bald caps on, and it was so fun because everywhere we would go, it was just like a little group of monks, like bald caps, and people were like, if I ever got separated from them, I'd be like, oh, where are all my bald friends at?
It is fantastic.
It was so much fun. People loved the outfits.
That one is so big, you could get lost.
It's massive. I was not expecting it. I mean, I knew, you know, like based off of previous traveling soldiers that we've had and the paper and all that, like I knew it was kind of big. But when I actually got there and saw everything, I was like, huh? What is happening?
Exactly. You can't experience everything one time.
No.
You got to do the whole thing. Like next time, you can't just go. You got to go and you got to do the camping.
Yes. So I didn't.
That's a whole other thing.
We didn't camp this time, but we did go to the campgrounds just to like experience kind of what was going on. And let me tell you, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. I like the fact that you don't just have to dress up like in the period, right?
Yes.
You can wear whatever you want.
Yeah. I thought that was so fun.
The only time they're going to talk smack is if you come over dressed like a muggle. You look like everybody else in your normal stuff. Don't do that.
Yeah. Fair.
Takes away from it. Oh my God, I can't wait. And yes, next time you go down to Todd Mission, let me know.
Okay.
I will make it a thing.
Yay, I can't wait.
It is ridiculous. But yes, so hopefully I don't end up in jail.
Fingers crossed that we see you here.
All right. That's all I got, Sam.
Well, it's been a real treat hanging out with you, and I think we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Take care, y'all.